take me now, sub-creature.
We never talk anymore.
Easy. I make it a rule never to get involved with possessed people.
Actually, it's more of a guideline than a rule.
I have to laugh. Because I'm unfinessed myself. My foe, my enemy, is an animal. And in order to conquer him, I have to think like an animal. And whenever possible, to look like one.
Apart from the fact that they're all funny, those scenes have something else in common. They all star Bill Murray, who is one of the most successful comic actors in the movies right now and seems right on the edge of becoming a real superstar. On this special edition of At the Movies today, we're going to take a look at the films of Bill Murray and try to figure out what makes him so popular. So across the aisle from me, Gene Siskel, film critic of the Chicago Tribune.
And across the aisle from me, Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times. Now, he isn't good-looking like most movie stars. He isn't a powerful, remote presence like so many movie stars. Instead, he has average looks, barely wears any makeup, has a goofy grin, and usually doesn't seem like he's acting at all. And yet, Bill Murray is one of the hottest box office stars in the country right now, having assembled one big comedy hit after another for a half-dozen most profitable years. He's hotter than Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy had a bomb. He's hotter than Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor's had bombs. Not in comedies. Bill Murray, one hit after another in his comedies. His very name in a movie comedy promises a good time to millions of young filmgoers. Now, what's the secret of this seemingly average guy being so successful? Well, we think we know. For example, I think he's really a modern-day Groucho Marx. Roger, you may differ. What do you think?
I have a theory too, Gene, and I think my theory is illustrated in Murray's first really big hit at the box office, which was a comedy named Stripes, which came out in 1981 and involved some of the same people that he later teamed up with on Ghostbusters. Ivan Reitman, the director, and Harold Ramis, who in both movies was the co-star and the co-writer. Murray and Ramis played a couple of strange guys who enlist in the Army just for the heck of it in Stripes, and they bring their own brand of craziness to military service. Here's the scene where platoon leader Murray delivers his troops.
A 1, 2, boom, shakalaka, boom, shakalaka, boom, shakalaka, boom.
Where the hell have you been, soldier?
Training, sir! Training, sir!
What kind of training, son?
Army training, sir!
Army training, sir!
Who wanted the chicken cross the road?
They get from the left to the right.
Right!
Hit! Hit! Hut!
He stepped out of range, got hit by a tank.
He ain't no chicken no more! No!
Left leg, lift. Razzle dazzle!
1, 2, 3, 4! 1, 2, 3, 4!
Round, five, jump over the lazy dog.
Start! Where's your drill sergeant, men?
Load up, sir!
Load up, sir!
Yes, sir. These are Sergeant Halka's men. He was injured during basic training.
I see. So am I to understand that you men completed your training on your own?
That's the fact, Jack!
That's a fact, Jack!
The secret of Stripes, I think, was the secret of a lot of Bill Murray's comedy, especially when he's involved with Harold Ramis, who was the guy we saw briefly in Stripes with the clear frames on his glasses. Yeah, the secret is sort of a laid-back, restrained attitude toward the sheer anarchy that's breaking loose all around these guys. Murray pretends to respect authority. He pretends to be disciplined and reasonable and responsible. And meanwhile, this guy has a total irreverence for the establishment and all of its works and pomps. And another thing, and this may remind you of Groucho too, he never plays dumb.
Right.
We always get the idea he has the situation completely figured out. He's just sitting back and waiting to make his move.
No, that's absolutely right. The intelligence is very similar. I mentioned earlier in the show that I do think of Bill Murray as sort of a contemporary Groucho Marx, and his latest comedy, Ghostbusters, is a perfect example of that. In fact, you can think of the movie Ghostbusters as three guys, the Marx brothers, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, and Bill Murray, all chasing spirits. Bill Murray is asked for help in the picture from a pretty woman in the movie, Sigourney Weaver. He tries to help her get rid of ghosts in her apartment. Now watch how he throws in a lot of nonchalant Groucho wisecracks. You can paint your own mustache on him and give him a cigar if you want. He really doesn't need it.
And then I slammed the refrigerator door and I left. That was 2 days ago, and I haven't been back to my apartment.
Generally, you don't see that kind of behavior in a major appliance. What do you think it was?
Well, if I knew what it was, I wouldn't be here.
Egon, what do you think?
She's telling the truth. At least she thinks she is.
Well, of course I'm telling the truth. Who would make up a story like that?
Some are people who just want attention. Others are just nutballs who come in off the street.
You know what it could be? Past life experience intruding on present time.
Could be erased memory stored in the collective unconscious. I wouldn't rule out clairvoyance or telepathic contact either.
Sorry. I don't believe in any of those things.
Well, that's all right. I don't either. But there are some things we do, standard procedures in a case like this, which often bring us results.
Well, I could go to Hall of Records and check out the structural details in the building.
Tell you what, I'll take Miss Barrett back to her apartment and check her out. I'll go check out Miss Barrett's apartment. Okay?
Okay.
I like the way he makes faces at the screen. Very good. He's very relaxed in this movie, but he's also winking at us saying, in effect, hey, look at me. I'm in this movie. Aren't movies fun? Wouldn't you like to be in this movie? Let's laugh at it all together. Bill Murray is very likable in a relaxed way in Ghostbusters. You know, it is one of the toughest moves to make in a movie, which is to look at the camera, to look into the audience's eyes, and not ruin the film. Very few people can do it. Woody Allen sometimes, Bill Murray a lot of times. We like Bill Murray so much he can get away with that. We like Groucho Marx. They're both the wittiest person in their movies. Not handsome, but funny and wisecracking and sweet and bright. That's one secret of Bill. I like to call him this, Bill Groucho Murray.
Well, I wouldn't call him Bill Groucho Murray because I think that Bill Murray and Groucho Marx are total originals, really. I mean, he's not doing, you're not saying that he's doing a Groucho Marx act.
I'm saying he's irreverent in a similar kind of way.
That in other words, he's kind of the loose cannon below ship in society, and wherever he rolls...
And he doesn't play by standard comic movie actors' lines. He's not a Bob Hope, you know, with lines in the movies. He's...
It's his attitude we're smiling at. And
yes.
I think he's going to be one of those comedians like Jack Benny was. You're going to mention an older generation. Benny could just be there, and because we knew what his character was, he could just look at something, we would find that funny. It's the same with Bill Murray. We know his attitude. He's figuring it out. He knows the angle. He knows what these people are up to, and he knows what his priorities are and how he's going to get his way, and he just a little smile, and we can intuit all that, and that makes him a natural comic actor, which is very rare.
It's true. And this Razor's Edge, which is a serious film we're going to be talking about later, I saw his name came up on the credits and I started to smile. I couldn't help it. That's a big compliment.
It's the same thing with me. The first time I saw him on the screen in Razor's Edge, I said, oh, wait a minute, this is serious, can't smile. But I wanted to. Coming up next at the movies, a look at Bill Murray's early years and first films. Bill Murray got his first comedy job in Chicago on the stage of the famous Second City Comedy Cabaret Company. Then in the early 1970s, he followed friends like John Belushi out east to New York, where they worked on National Lampoon stage plays and radio programs. And then in the late 70s, National Lampoon's Animal House made a star out of Belushi. But Bill Murray didn't hit at the box office until Meatballs, a low-rent quickie from Canada that was directed by Ivan Reitman and starred Murray as a spaced-out camp counselor. It wasn't a great movie and it wasn't a great role, but audiences reacted immediately to Bill Murray, and that got him his first Hollywood job in another screenplay by Harold Ramis named Caddyshack.
I gotta get inside this dude's belt and crawl around for a few days. Who is the gopher's ally, his friend? The harmless squirrel and the friendly rabbit. I'm gonna use you two guys to do my dirty work for me. Look it's the gopher.
Murray plays a guy in this movie who's a little bit goofy about gophers. He's a groundskeeper at this high society country club, has customers at it like Rodney Dangerfield, and then there's Murray, who lives in this little room with this kind of grungy little existence going after those gophers. He's kind of on that level. He's just about 6 inches below the level of the golf course, as far as everybody else in the movie is concerned. Caddyshack was a movie where Murray was still feeling his way. I think he was upstaged at the box office and probably with some audiences by Rodney Dangerfield. Yeah. But the movie itself also wasn't all that great. It was important, though, to Murray because it helped him develop his on-screen persona as a bemused, slightly hostile guy who knows all the angles, even if the only angles he knew were gopher killing.
Yeah, you know, I think if he were to play that film now, I think he'd play it in a different way. I think he'd be more confident and wouldn't need all the grubby makeup and all the grubbiness and all the accent. He could play it straight now. As far as I'm concerned, one of the keys to him is that he doesn't need makeup. He could walk through his films virtually in a swimsuit, no matter what the story is, and we would watch him, because what we're talking about is a comic spirit. I know young people respond to him because he doesn't demand anything. He doesn't demand respect from you. He acts like you would act if you were in a movie, which is silly and wild and having a lot of fun.
That kind of cool detachment that you feel if you also feel at the same time that the whole world is kind of against you. And these two movies we were talking about, Meatballs and Caddyshack, were at the time teenage pictures, movies that were shoveled into the theaters in the summertime, aimed at that teenage audience that goes to the movies then, and they found him first. They found Bill Murray long before millions of people went to see Ghostbusters and movies like that.
Coming up next at the movies, Bill Murray has a serious side, and we'll look at his recent attempt to play a serious character.
I don't think I'm the guy you want to marry right now. This isn't the old Mr. Sunshine.
Many comic actors, Bill Murray wants to do more than make people laugh. They're never satisfied, these big stars. Jerry Lewis has wanted to be a serious actor for a long time, and he did a good job in The King of Comedy. Jackie Gleason was really superb in the drama The Hustler, and of course, Charlie Chaplin himself, the master, got serious toward the end of his career, too. And Bill Murray is trying to follow in their footsteps, and he doesn't want to play silly roles. So, in 1980, he made his first stab at a somewhat serious role, playing countercultural journalist Hunter S. Thompson in the political comedy Where the Buffalo Roam. Murray was okay, but the tone of the movie was wildly uneven, and we were never sure what kind of story this was supposed to be, comedy or political. It didn't have the confidence to be totally serious. Then Bill Murray got a little bit more serious. With Tootsie, he wasn't playing goofy Bill Murray. He was just doing a straight standard role with some good lines. That worked very, very well. He took the role without credit, another clever move, but he got a lot of credit because everyone noticed it was Bill Murray. Much more recently, using the clout of his participation in Ghostbusters as sort of a club, Bill Murray was able to do his first fully realized dramatic role in The Razor's Edge, playing a disillusioned young man trying to find out nothing less than the meaning of life. I enjoyed the film more as a study of what it means to be a good friend, and Bill Murray's character turns out to be a very dear friend of an unhappy woman in this film, played by Teresa Russell. There are tinges of the comic Bill Murray in this scene, but that works too, because who says everybody in a serious movie has to be serious all the time?
Here. I have these printed out for you.
Your poems. Well, this is great. Now I'll have something to read to the guys in the trenches at night.
You used to like them.
Well, they're good. I always liked the poet.
I'm gonna miss you. You know, when we were kids, I was always terrified you were the guy I was gonna have to marry.
But you just couldn't control yourself, could you? Oh, Bob. Oh, Bob, don't. Oh, Bob, don't. Stop. Whatever you do, Bob, don't. Oh, Bob.
Well, he goes a little overboard there at the end. I don't think he has to. He's a better actor than that. The Razor's Edge is by no means a great film, but there is something quite wonderful about it, and you could see it in that scene where he gets, that one shot where he gets choked up. And what you can see there is the innate sweetness of Bill Murray that comes across at almost every moment in this story. He can act all right, but frankly, he's best when he just seems to be himself, his relaxed self, trying to do the right thing or the funny thing. He's a good person, and we see that, and that carries him a long way in the movies, I think.
I agree with that feeling about Murray when he's relaxed, but that's why I liked him ever so much more in Tootsie, where he was Dustin Hoffman's roommate, and he was giving him little advice. And you remember the great scene where he says, "Don't play too hard to get."
Right.
I liked him better there than I did in Razor's Edge, where he seems to be playing serious with a capital S. In other words, this is a serious movie. I have to be serious about it, and I thought as a result he was too laid back in this movie. You could see it almost, I thought, in this scene. He's standing back like this. He doesn't put himself into the scene. He doesn't put his personality into the scene. I think he's better off probably playing contemporary roles, people his own age, his own generation, and in doing that, as he did in Tootsie, there's nobody better.
Well, okay, we can keep arguing, I guess, about the Razor's Edge. Maybe that's not to the point here. I thought that his one mistake is that he didn't play it serious enough, maybe, that he tried to...
Go for a little comic.
Go for comedy because, you know, it would be more marketable, and he's going to make the transition a little smoother. At any rate.
I think you're right about one thing, though, and that is his sweetness. He is such a nice person, innately almost, on screen, that even when he's mean, it doesn't really matter because we know he doesn't really mean it.
Right.
Next at the movies, a rare look at Bill Murray on stage at his comic birthplace, Second City.
What are you in here for? Kind of a urinary problem. Bladder infection, huh? Yeah. No.
One of the key experiences in the career of Bill Murray was his early Chicago training ground, the legendary Second City Comedy Cabaret. That's where the actors learn to think on their feet and to develop sketches that are both comedy and at the same time dramatically important.
And I also think they learn to relax a lot on camera, which is what we've been talking about with Bill Murray. Totally relax, not tense or pushing.
They go out there 6 nights a week, twice on Fridays and Saturdays, so it's no big deal. Here I am, here you are, let's get on with it. Second City is where Bill's brother, Brian Doyle Murray, started out in the late 1960s, and it's also where both of the Murrays met John Belushi and Harold Ramis and such other future stars as Shelley Long and George Wendt of Cheers and Betty Thomas of Hill Street Blues. And from the Toronto company of Second City, they met Dan Aykroyd and Gilda Radner. The early cast of Saturday Night Live were practically hired off the stage of Second City. And here's some rare Second City footage from 1980 when Murray returned as a guest star at a reunion, and also on stage here you can see George Wendt from Cheers.
Good afternoon. Are we first?
I'm here to see the doctor.
No, I'm the nurse, Sister Mary Innocent. I'll be taking your preliminary history. Over here, son. Now, have we been to St. Francis before?
No, we haven't.
All right, then that's another card. Excuse me. Oh, and well, what's the nature of our problem? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Now, son, I still can't hear you. Venereal disease! All right. Your name?
John Doe. It's D-O-U-G-H.
That's great.
Very good. You know, when I was watching that, I thought he just made it up on stage. He has that quality.
You know, you do have that feeling with Bill Murray that he is making it up as it goes along, that everybody else in the movie, their characters, they have their lines. They're standing there in the story saying the things that somebody wrote for them, and Murray is standing there saying, gee, that's interesting. I wonder how they came up with that. Here's what I think about it. And we have the feeling in the audience that he's speaking to us, that he is somehow the guy from the 10th row who got into the movie, and he's able to represent us and our viewpoint in terms of all the other characters in the story.
Yeah, there's no question. He looks always like he's a last-minute replacement. He's just in there and saying, by the way, I think of this. Or like the little cartoonist, Pat Oliphant, who always has a little birdie in the corner. That little birdie is Bill Murray, I think, sometimes.
You know, we were asking earlier if he is right in trying to have a serious career, and of course, that's what he wants to do, be serious as well as funny. That's okay, but there are a lot of serious actors, and they are all so very serious, and it is so hard to be funny, and it's even harder to be funny when you're not doing it with cheap laughs and cheap shots, but doing it with wit and with intelligence and with warmth, as Murray can do. It's so hard to do. He does it so well.
Yeah, even though I like The Razor's Edge, given my druthers, I'm with you. I'd rather see him keep on doing comedies, not necessarily summer camp teenage comedies, more comedies of a guy in his late 30s. I think that's what he is right now. And why not grow old with Bill Murray and have him grow and be funny? More like a career that, well, Woody Allen has sometimes.
Okay, well, that's it for this week and for The Secret of Bill Murray. And coming up next at the movies, we're going to return with reviews next week of new movies, including George Burns and the third Old God comedy. This one is called Oh God, You Devil. And we're also going to be reviewing Crimes of Passion, a controversial sex-oriented thriller starring Kathleen Turner and Anthony Perkins. And until then, we'll see you at